Welcome to a place where hearts unwind, infinite threads that gently bind, love and compassion in every line. Together we rise through space and time.
Hey, welcome back to Infinite Threads. I'm your host, Bob. This week we've been exploring a possibility that may sound strange at first. What if love is more than emotion? What if it is not just something we feel, but something that runs beneath everything? And if that is true, even partly true, then the idea leads us into some beautiful places. It helps us see kindness differently. It helps us recognize that strangers may not really be strangers at all. It helps us feel the quiet connection running through ordinary moments. But today, we need to let the idea lead us somewhere harder. Because if we are going to say there is no them, only us, then we cannot only mean the people who are easy to love. We cannot only mean the gentle people. We cannot only mean the people who are wounded in ways that make us feel compassion. We also have to face the uncomfortable truth that the people who do harm are still part of humanity too. That sentence is difficult. I know it is. And I want to be very clear about what I do not mean. I am not saying that harm should be excused. I'm not saying cruelty should be tolerated. I'm not saying people should be allowed to wound others without consequences. Love does not ask us to abandon accountability. In fact, real love often requires accountability because love cares about the people being harmed. Love protects. Love tells the truth, and love sometimes has to stand firm and say, no more. But accountability and dehumanization are not the same things. That is the line I want to sit with today. Because when someone does something cruel, our instinct is often to push them outside the circle. We call them a monster. We say they are not like us. We create distance between their humanity and ours because, honestly, it feels safer that way. If they're a monster, then we do not have to ask how a human being became capable of doing what they did. If they are nothing like us, then we do not have to examine the fear, pain, pride, greed, humiliation, loneliness, or bitterness that can grow inside ordinary people when it is not healed. And maybe most importantly, we do not have to ask whether our own world keeps producing the conditions that help people become hardened. That does not mean every harmful person is secretly innocent. It means harmful people are still human beings. And that may be the most frightening part. Because if they are human, then we have to look deeper. We have to ask harder questions. What happened inside them? What did they learn to ignore? What did they stop feeling? What story did they tell themselves that made harm seem acceptable? What fear did they obey for so long that compassion became inconvenient? Those are not questions that erase responsibility. They are questions that make responsibility more honest. Because if someone causes harm, they still chose something. They still participated in something. They still bear responsibility for the pain they caused. But if we stop there, we may miss the wider truth. Human cruelty does not fall out of the sky. It grows somewhere. Sometimes it grows in homes where tenderness was rare. Sometimes it grows in communities where dominance is praised and empathy is mocked. Sometimes it grows in fear, propaganda, resentment, or the desperate need to belong to a group that gives someone an enemy. Sometimes it grows slowly in a person who keeps making small excuses until one day the excuses become a personality. And sometimes it grows in people who believe they are doing good while they are actually causing harm. That may be one of the hardest things to accept. A person can hurt others and still believe that they are righteous. A person can support cruelty and call it strength. A person can ignore suffering because they have convinced themselves that the suffering belongs to someone outside the circle. That is why this idea matters so much, guys. There is no them, only us. Not because everyone is safe, and not because everyone is kind, and not because everyone deserves access to our lives, but because the moment we start believing that harm comes only from some alien category of people, we lose the ability to understand how harm spreads. And if we cannot understand how harm spreads, we have very little chance of stopping it. Love at its deepest does not make us naive. It makes us more awake. It asks us to see the victim clearly, to honor the wound, and to protect the vulnerable. But it also asks us not to look away from the humanity of the one who caused the wound. That's not easy. Not at all. And I would never ask anyone to rush there. If you have been deeply hurt, you do not owe your pain a pretty spiritual explanation. You do not have to minimize what happened to you so someone else can feel better about being compassionate. Love does not demand that. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is get safe, tell the truth, and stop pretending the wound was smaller than it was. But somewhere beyond the immediate fire of harm, there's a truth we eventually have to face as a human family. If broken people are still part of us, then healing cannot only be personal. It has to become cultural. It has to become communal. It has to become something we practice before people become unreachable. We have to become more serious about what we feed into one another. Because contempt feeds something. Humiliation feeds something. Mockery feeds something. Fear feeds something. And love? Love feeds something too. That does not mean love magically fixes every person. Some people resist it. Some people reject it. Some people have built their identity around not needing it. But even then, love remains the only force I know that can interrupt the pattern without becoming the pattern. Hatred may restrain someone for a while, guys, and that's what tricks us. Fear may silence someone for a while. Punishment may be necessary in some cases to protect others. But hatred does not heal the root. Fear does not restore the soul, and punishment alone does not teach a human being how to become whole. If love is the thread running through everything, then even accountability has to be threaded with truth rather than revenge. That's a hard distinction. Revenge says, you are nothing but what you did. Truth says, What you did matters, and so does what you choose next. Revenge wants someone erased. Truth wants harm to stop. Love does not deny consequences. It simply refuses to let consequences become cruelty for its own sake. And maybe that is where the path becomes so narrow, because we live in a world that often gives us only two choices: excuse everything or destroy the person. But love sees another possibility. It says we can name harm without losing our humanity. We can protect people without becoming hateful. We can hold someone accountable without pretending that they were never human. We can refuse to let the wound define the whole future. And I know that that may sound idealistic, but I think it is actually practical. Because every time we dehumanize someone, even someone who has done wrong, we rehearse the same mental movement that allows harm in the first place. We teach ourselves that some people are outside the circle. And once that door opens, history shows us how far human beings can go. So maybe today's question is not only about the broken person. Maybe it is also about what happens inside us when we look at them. Can we protect ourselves and others without letting hate become our home? Can we tell the truth without taking pleasure in someone else's destruction? Can we remember that accountability is meant to stop harm, not feed our appetite for contempt? These are difficult questions. But the path of love was never shallow. It asks more of us than slogans. It asks us to hold grief and clarity at the same time. It asks us to care about the wounded without becoming addicted to hating the wounder. It asks us to believe that humanity must include the uncomfortable parts of itself, not because they are acceptable, but because everything cast into shadow without understanding has a way of returning. And maybe that is the real work. To stop pretending that brokenness belongs only to other people. To recognize the places where fear can harden any heart. To build a world where fewer people are trained by pain to stop caring. And to keep choosing love. Guys, keep choosing love. Not as weakness, but as the only force strong enough to face the truth without becoming cruel. So yes, even the broken are part of us. Even the people who have done harm belong to the human story. That does not make the harm smaller. It makes our responsibility larger. Because if there is no them, only us, then healing is not just something we hope other people will do. It is something that we participate in the way we speak, in the way we raise children, in the way we handle conflict, in the way we respond when fear asks us to become less human. And maybe that's where the love force becomes more than an idea. It becomes a discipline, a practice, a courage. The courage to see clearly without turning cold. The courage to protect without dehumanizing. To believe that even in the hardest places, love is still the thread that can lead us back. Until next time, guys, keep threading kindness through the world. I love each and every one of you very, very, very much. And you know what I need you to do. Go out and pass that on, okay? Later, Gators. Bye.